Alright, what is going on, guys? It's Tazz here, and welcome back to the channel. Now today what I've got for you guys is another Arrow speculation video slash theory. So what I want to do is just say spoiler warning for Arrow Season 5 up until episodes 11 and 12, 11 or 12-ish, around that area. So if you haven't watched up to at least episode 11 or preferably episode 12, I'd say click off the video now, come back once you've watched it up to that point. But yeah, without further ado, guys, let's get into the speculation and theory. So what I want to do with this video, guys, is just speculate on the future of the Black Canary mantle and give my thoughts on where I think the showrunners are going to be going with the Black Canary going forward in Arrow. So without further ado, guys, let's get into the speculation. So if you guys know from episode 11, we saw Team Arrow go track down this new possible Black Canary who we originally were introduced to as being Tina Boland, but after she accepted the offer to be on Team Arrow, she told Oliver that it was just a cover-up name and that her real name was actually Dinah Drake. So if that name sounds familiar to you guys, it's just because she, Dinah Drake, the first Black Canary was actually named Dinah Drake. She was the Golden Age Black Canary. And yeah, so the Golden Age meaning that she was just from a older era of the comics back where like Jay Garrick was the Flash and things like that, in that golden era of comics, which was just a older era of the comics. So she is actually the first version of the Black Canary, the Black Canary that was before the Dinah Laurel Lance Black Canary, who we originally had throughout the entirety of Arrow up until when she died in Season 4. So by having this new person that's becoming the Black Canary have the name of Dinah Drake, I definitely think that's very cool because it gives her definitely a sort of a right to become the Black Canary, not just because she has the metahuman ability to have the Canary Cry, but just because also the name sort of from the comics, which is definitely pretty cool, and I think that's definitely really awesome that the showrunners are doing that. But I feel like there are 3 different ways that they could continue this Black Canary mantle going forward. So option 1, I think, is just definitely a very simple explanation, and what is the most likely option, I think, out of the 3 different options that I have, which would just be to keep her on the show, just keep her, continue having her be the Black Canary, and just sort of mold her more into that comic book style of the Black Canary. Just have her have maybe a more comic book accurate superhero costume and things like that. Just have her continue to be the Black Canary here on Arrow going forward throughout the rest of Season 5 and onward for however long Arrow is going to last, at least up until Season 6, because that's what they're confirmed for at the moment. But I feel like it would most likely go a bit longer than only 6 seasons, but that's just me. But yeah, I think this first option would just be to have Dinah Drake become the Black Canary permanently on Arrow and have her stay there throughout the entirety of the show. Now, the next 2 options in this theory would involve Dinah Drake either dying or leaving Team Arrow at some point, whether that be at the end of Season 5 or beginning of Season 6 or at any point along the timeline of Arrow. But what I think for this next thing, what would happen is either after she dies or leaves would be that Oliver actually brings in the Earth 2 Laurel Lance, or the Black Siren, takes her out of Argus and sort of trains her and molds her into being the Black Canary that Team Arrow needs. And why I think this is actually a possibility is because from some of the comic book runs of the Dinah Laurel Lance Black Canary is that she's actually from Earth 2, which would definitely be a pretty cool nod to that in the comics, sort of like how right now the Black Canary is Dinah Drake as a nod to the Golden Age version of the comics. I just definitely think that this would be a pretty cool nod to the comics if they actually made the Earth 2 Laurel the Black Canary on the show, just because obviously she has the metahuman ability, which is definitely I think a lot cooler than just having sort of the collar device thingy that allows her to have the metahuman abilities without actually being a metahuman. But I just definitely think that this would be a pretty cool option, would be to bring in the Earth 2 Laurel and have her be the Black Canary as a nod to the to some of the versions of her in the comics. Now, I feel that the Earth 2 Laurel becoming the Black Canary is probably the least likely option out of the 3, and my next option is definitely pretty crazy, but I really feel like this one is the least likely option out of the 3, is just because on Flash and as well as Arrow, they've just sort of made her seem like a villain that just has no ability to change into being a hero or a good guy, at least at the time being. So I definitely think we're gonna see the Earth 2 Laurel back on the show throughout either maybe later in this season or definitely next season. I definitely think we're gonna see her back on Arrow, but I just can't see them having her become the actual Black Canary, just because it just doesn't seem very plausible. But my next theory would actually be absolutely insane. It involves a plot point from Legends of Tomorrow this season, so if you guys are not caught up on Legends of Tomorrow Season 2, I would suggest maybe stopping the video now. But if you have watched up until really not the most recent episode, but if you guys know anything about the plot of Legends of Tomorrow Season 2, you can definitely stay here. But just a spoiler warning if you guys don't want to know anything about Legends of Tomorrow Season 2. But let's continue on in this theory. So the third and final option, I think that what Arrow could do with the Black Canary is actually involving Legends of Tomorrow, like I said, and which involves the Spear of Destiny. So if you guys don't know what the Spear of Destiny is, it's just sort of this ancient artifact that the Legion of Doom is looking for on Legends of Tomorrow, and the Legends obviously are trying to stop them from getting this artifact because it allows you to rewrite history itself. So without any effect of time aberrations or anything like that, you are able to just rewrite history and have no problems with it. It just sticks. Like the world will just act like it actually really happened, with no repercussions for actually using this thing. So what I think could happen is maybe the Legion of Doom could get their hands on the Spear of Destiny and could sort of, you know, mess up time and space and everything. So the Legends have to go fix everything that the Legion of Doom has done, but in the process of fixing things, I feel like Sarah Lance, aka the White Canary, could actually bring back her sister Laurel. So I feel like this would definitely just be really interesting, really cool if this actually played out this way, is when the Legends are trying to fix time with the Spear of Destiny, that maybe Sarah goes back to season 4 of Arrow and actually changes what happens when Damien Dark killed Laurel, that maybe she uses it to either allow her to survive her injuries, or maybe make it so that she never even went with Team Arrow to go fight Damien Dark or whatever, but she could just do something, use the Spear of Destiny to save Laurel, and she would have never died in season 4 of Arrow. But the only reason why I think this might not happen would be if she did this and rewrote history, then definitely they'd have to address it on Arrow and have her either just basically rewrite a big plot point from season 5 now, which was finding a new Black Canary. They'd have to completely like alter their history of Arrow also, by having this happen, which would just be pretty crazy, unless maybe Sarah brings Laurel back, and then just sort of pulls her out of the timeline and brings her on the Wave Rider and things like that. So that would be really interesting. Yeah, that would probably work if they did that. Would be to have Sarah bring Laurel back, put her on the Wave Rider, and just bring her to the present day now, which would definitely be pretty cool. So overall, I really like the direction that Arrow's going right now with this new Black Canary, Dinah Drake. I definitely think that she's going to definitely make a really good Black Canary on the show, but out of all my theories, I really think that my third theory with Sarah bringing Laurel back with the Spear of Destiny is definitely pretty possible to happen. I mean, it would just be really cool if they brought her back, and maybe instead of Dinah Drake leaving and Laurel becoming the Black Canary again on Arrow, maybe by Sarah bringing Laurel back with the Spear of Destiny, maybe she becomes a member of the Legends, which I think would be pretty cool as well. But let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments. Which one of these 3 theories do you think will actually come true within Arrow going forward? I definitely, like I said, I definitely think that my first theory is most likely the most plausible, which would just be to have Dinah Drake continue on being the Black Canary on Arrow, but I definitely would like to see option number 3 play out. So yeah, tell me what you guys think about this down in the comments below. But until next time, guys, it's been Tazz, and I will see you guys in the next video.